Hello everyone, my name is Professor Dr. Muhammad Tajuddin, and for today's video I would like to make a personal commentary on the issue of was Bruce Gilley right in saying that Malaysia advocates a second Holocaust and also Malaysia is a dangerous destination. Now, I am certainly making this video not because I am a fan of Bruce Gilley or that I am a fan of University Malaya or that I am a fan of Israel. I am merely trying to make something which has escaped everyone's attention, which is an objective analysis of what he has posted, as well as what he might have meant from that posting, and also his own judgment about the safety of Malaysia from his perspective. Now, we are now in Malaysia having a very serious problem, very serious, where certain statements, certain signs has been taken by people and viralizing it on the media and not allowing an explanation from the accuser, from the accused. And so this has become something of a witch hunt on social media, a witch hunt in political popularity that is becoming a very cancerous aspect in our society. Let us look at the two so-called implied statements by Gilly, who said that Malaysia may be condoning a second Holocaust, and what he actually meant perhaps when he said that Malaysia is a dangerous place to visit now. Now, for the first part, let us look at what he had posted on X. He said a country whose political leaders advocate a second Holocaust against the Jewish people will never be a serious player in world affairs and will certainly never be a friend or partner to the United States. So he himself put this posting after his keynote speech. Now, I was not there, I did not hear the whole speech. I'm just taking what he had posted on X as an academic analysis. Now, firstly, in that statement alone, it does not mention Malaysia. He said a country. But the topic, as I understand it, was about Malaysia, whether it can become a kind of a middle power, a kind of a political actor that may mediate between conflicts of East and West, Islam and non-Islam, and things like that. This is what I am assuming was the lecture. Can Malaysia be that? And for him to put that statement, of course, people would definitely assume that he's talking about Malaysia. But remember, in that statement, he did not mention Malaysia. He said a country, any country, whose leaders. So there are 2 points here that many people miss. He said a country, did not say Malaysia, and he said a country whose leaders, meaning that if you have a leader that is very extremist, and he quoted Dr. Mahathir in a statement that says you have to learn from the Jews you have to learn from the Germans to kill the Jews. Now, I couldn't find this statement, but then I assume that it has to be a true statement, because if not, an academic like him would get sued. And so this is what he has used. And also another statement by Muhammad Sabu saying the disappearance of the Israel nation. Now, he has used these two quotes from two leaders in order to imply, if I'm not mistaken, he's not saying that Malaysia is advocating a second Holocaust. Now, that is a very serious accusation indeed. Why did he make that statement? Now, on the one hand, people will say this is an untrue statement. Why? Because, well, we Malaysians, even myself, will never advocate something as horrendous as this act of barbarism that the Nazis inflicted on the Jewish people. And Malaysia also consists of many non-Muslim who definitely do not believe in this narrative of Islam against the West or the West against Islam. So how can that be that we or Malaysia be accused of such? But again, here, Gilly is saying a leader or leaders who lead this country. So from my perspective, he's not saying Malaysia in perpetuity. He's saying that if you have leaders like people like Tun Dr. Mahathir, who makes a very callous statement like that, in the sense of trying to decimate a whole race, that is something that would be taken as a true fact, that a country with leaders like this, then that means that country cannot be a middle power. I think that is what is being said. As an academic, all academic statement has a limitation. It has its context. So for people like Amira to accuse Gilly as saying that Malaysia supports this, now in academia it doesn't work like that. It works with the idea that if you believe that it's based on certain evidence, but if you collect other evidence, then it doesn't mean necessarily so. So that's why it is very important for people like Amira and other people like the Minister of Higher Education allow people like Bruce Gilley to answer when you then accuse him of being unfair. But when he has been hounded like that and not being able to answer, which was supposed to be the next day, I understand that it was supposed to have a forum, and it was cancelled by the Minister of Education, who says that university must abide by the rules stipulated by the ministry, and that also perhaps include academic imprisonment. This is something which is very worrying, because academia cannot thrive in an era where you have to be looking behind your behind your back or over your shoulders every time you make a statement. Now, which is more dangerous, an academic like Bruce Gilley making a statement, or Dr. Mahathir, who was the Prime Minister of Malaysia, making such a statement that you must learn from the Germans to kill the Jews? For me, definitely it would have to be Dr. Mahathir, because he, in a sense, represents Malaysia politically. And so an academic like Bruce Gilley, you can just refute him if you want from a discussion with other professors who will present other viewpoints, or he will make a clarification. He said, I'm not saying Malaysia is a extremist country. I'm saying if you have leaders who are in a sense having an extremist viewpoint. So that is a very significant thing that we must understand. Okay. Now, I will show you one other so-called evidence that also is worrying me, but Bruce Gilley did not use this evidence. Now, this evidence comes from an event that occurred in which a graduating student from Sabah University, or University Malaysia Sabah, where he went up to take up his scroll, and then he did a Heil Hitler, a Sieg Heil, what we call a salute to Hitler. Not just that, he posted on his Facebook, and you can read, and he says in Bahasa Melayu that he is supporting the Palestinians, which is being mauled by Israel, and that he supported the Holocaust that Adolf Hitler made, and that's why he saluted Adolf Hitler, because he loved and agreed to what Adolf Hitler had done to the Jewish people. Now, when that news broke out, I was very, very shocked, saddened, and also I don't know the expression that I would like to use, that is really, really terrible, because how can a person agree to the annihilation of a single race of people, children, old people, women, and not even knowing who these people are, simply just because you're listening to your ustaz or you're listening to your lecturers, and then you hate a whole group of people just because you have been listening to one perspective and not even entertaining other perspective. Now, what does that say about university education? Now, I don't think Gilly knows about this event that had occurred. But even if he did, how can we use a single graduating student as a measure that Malaysia advocates the Holocaust? So this is something that says that, well, it's not true. Malaysia do not support Holocaust because we are a nation of many people. But it's also perhaps true because when you say that your leaders represent a country, and also you have somebody like a graduating student coming from a national university having that statement, and then also nobody refuting this statement. There were only the German ambassador who said that this was a very bad thing to say, as well as my statement and article in the media. Other people did not say anything. Now that is also another evidence about the either apathy, indifference, or even perhaps support for the student in terms of its perspective against the Jewish people. Now, in Malaysia, most Muslims learn Islam in a very narrow construct of listening to ustaz, and the idea of killing Jews and hating Jews is something very normal and very mainstream. I would say 95% of Malays in Malaysia hates Jews from a simple ignorant perspective and not looking at the entire history of the religion of Islam itself. Even when I pointed out to many of these people and say that, look, do you know that the Prophet Moses, Prophet Yusuf, and Prophet Solomon are all from the Jewish people? They didn't know that. All they knew is that these are prophets that we have to respect: Moses, Solomon, Yusuf, or Joseph. But they didn't know that they came from the Jewish people. And the Quranic verse that says that if you were to have faith, you must also believe in the teachings before, which is in the kitab or in the books before, which is the Injil, the Torah, and the Zabur of the thing before Quran. That is also something that has not been popularly explained to many Muslims. So there we have it, that the statement stands within the construct of a limitation of if your leaders are having extremist views, then your country will be known such and such. And so this is what I wanted to make and clarify. So the fact that he has not been allowed to explain himself in a forum is something which is very, very serious, and we just chase people out just like that. Now, of course, we did not actually chase him out. He was afraid for his safety because there has been disturbances to foreign lecturers that has come to this country before. And this brings to Gilly's next statement, that Malaysia is no longer safe. Now, what did he mean by that? Did he mean everybody to visit, or did he mean not safe for scholars only? Because the US Embassy has refuted Gilly and saying that no, our threat assessment says that Malaysia is still okay for people to visit. We have good relations with Americans, with the Malaysians, and so forth and so forth. Their threat level is 4, and Malaysia is at 1, meaning nothing lah. But we cannot avoid the news that Mustafa Akyol was arrested simply because he gave a different interpretation of mainstream Islam. And for me, who have read his books, he has given what I believe the way that the Prophet Sunnah had advocated. But in Malaysia, people are not really inclined towards that. They're more inclined towards populism of Islamic parties, Islamic NGOs and so-called ustaz who loudest in their voices. We also have the incident of the another professor, Kuru, who came here and was harassed by some kind of authority at the airport. Luckily, he escaped without being arrested. So, was Gilly trying to limit his statement that Malaysia is dangerous for academics? Or was he implying that Malaysia is a dangerous place to visit for all? Again, he has not clarified that. And we can see also from the KK Mart incident, and I think the world perhaps already seen how Malaysia handled the issue of just some few pairs of stocking. We've allowed one of the politicians to swing swords here and there to call for boycotts, and then we have also seen how the boycotts of Malaysians themselves in working for McDonald's, Starbucks, and all this adds up to a very difficult image of Malaysia being a very extremist country. Now, if somebody were to refute that, how are they going to refute that? These are actually things that have occurred. Now, some people say, no, we are not an extremist country because we love our religion and we hold the name of Allah as sacred and so forth and so forth. But here we see that such activities had occurred and there were no condemnation from the so-called academics in Malaysian universities, as well as the religious officials like the muftis. No one has condemned it very harshly, except maybe one mufti, and we have many muftis, and we don't even have any professors of Islam coming out to explain the moderate view of Islam. So this gives credence to the idea that perhaps Malaysia is a dangerous place to visit. Now, if you were to look at a lot of the social media about people trying to divide the country between Muslims and non-Muslims, I'm sure you may have to look again whether you would like to visit this country, because this is out on social media. People are just out on what I call a witch hunt in terms of trying to find something to boycott, something to threaten, and this is something which is very dangerous, and also have given, I'm not sure whether it is the true view of Malaysia or a false view of Malaysia. Even I, being a Malaysian, are uncertain to say that we are still a very a country who has rational people, a country who has good leaders, a country who has good academics. I cannot say that for certain now, because I have seen a lot of silence and a lot of allowance of extremist statements even in this country. So in conclusion, what I'm trying to say here is that I'm not again in support of Bruce Gilley, as well as I'm not also in support of Israel. I'm only in support of the idea of academic freedom and responsibility by allowing someone to actually say something that is not to our liking, but giving a proper explanation. And even if at the end of the explanation we disagree, then we disagree on the note that there is a discourse and there is a disagreement. Anyway, this is a academic discussion, which is always having pros and cons of things. If not, you wouldn't call it academia. You just call it tradition. Tradition is a situation where knowledge is passed on without question. Now, academia is a knowledge that gets passed on with a lot of questions and a lot of rebuttal and a lot of having to correct and then having to restate and having to argue again. That is the process of academic excellence and development. And as to the idea that is Malaysia a very safe place, well, you can see for yourself what's happening in this country with the KK mat issue, the shoe issue, the prayer mat issue, and we're just waiting for other issues to come out and then viralize, and then very slow response from the authorities, very strong silence from the academia, strong silence from the religious cleric that are being paid to be teaching good Islam. So this is something that is, well, you can see for yourself. Now, whether we agree with Bruce Gilley or not, that is not the question. The question here is about rational thinking. It's about giving the proper platform to state something and explain and answer questions, as well as also a certain decorum, of course, about in how we state things. Now, this is what I have been trying to do as an academic, and I would like to hope that we still have universities that still believe in the idea of academic freedom and also academic responsibility as well as decorum, and allowing discourses to occur. If not, I don't really think there is much sense in having any university at all. With that, thank you very much.